Something is breaking inside the MAGA movement. And I'm not talking about Democrats finally landing a punch. I'm talking about Trump's own base, his podcasters, his influencers, his most loyal attack dogs turning on him in ways we've never seen before. Tim Pool just went on his show and said he's not cutting Trump any slack anymore. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who literally wore a MAGA hat to interrupt Biden's State of the Union, is now calling the movement a big lie. Elon Musk and Steve Bannon are publicly attacking each other, calling each other evil. And Nick Fuentes, the white nationalist podcaster who dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, is mocking conservatives for being butthurt. What triggered all of this? One word: Epstein. The release of over 3 million pages of Jeffrey Epstein documents has created a civil war inside MAGA world that's unlike anything we've seen since Trump took office. And the most devastating attacks aren't coming from the left. They're coming from people who were, until very recently, Trump's most devoted soldiers. I need to walk you through what's happening, because this is one of those moments where the cracks in a movement become impossible to ignore. Is anyone else surprised by how fast this unraveled? Tell me what you're seeing in the comments. Let me start with Tim Pool. For those who don't know, Pool is one of the most influential right-wing podcasters in America. His show Timcast IRL gets millions of views. He was literally funded by Russian operatives through Tenet Media, $100,000 per episode according to federal prosecutors, to spread pro-Trump content. Pool claimed he was a victim of the scheme, but there's no question he's been one of Trump's most effective amplifiers. And on Wednesday, Pool went off. "I ain't cutting Trump any slack now that we know that they've covered up the co-conspirator documents," Pool said on his show. "There's a document saying that they were investigating co-conspirators of Epstein. There's photos and videos of minors and children." Pool referenced arguments from some conservatives that the files contain hearsay and fake tips that were uncorroborated. But he wasn't buying the excuses. "All of that is true," Pool said, "but there's still no excuse for them not exposing these deep, dark, corrupt pedos." And then he dropped the hammer on Trump directly. "I would say it is shocking to the conscience that Trump called it a hoax. Shocking." Think about what's happening here. This is Tim Pool, a man who spent years defending Trump through every scandal, every investigation, every controversy, now publicly accusing the president of covering up evidence of child sexual abuse. That's not a minor fracture, that's a fundamental break. But Pool isn't alone. In fact, he might not even be the most devastating voice turning against Trump right now. That distinction belongs to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Greene was once Trump's most visible defender in Congress. She wore the MAGA hat. She spread the conspiracy theories. She got herself kicked off committees for his sake. When Trump needed someone to cause chaos, Greene was there. Not anymore. On Friday, Greene appeared on Owen Schroyer's podcast, that's the former InfoWars host, and delivered what can only be described as a complete repudiation of Trump's handling of the Epstein files. "The only reason that Trump signed our bill that we passed in the House was because he had to," Greene said. "It became a massive political problem." Then she went further. "The biggest political miscalculation in Donald Trump's career was calling this a hoax, fighting the release of it, and having Mike Johnson, the Speaker, refuse to bring the bill to the floor, to the point where Thomas Massie, myself, Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert actually had to vote with all of the Democrats to get it released." Greene said Trump was the person who fought the hardest to block the Epstein files from being released. She said Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, isn't acting independently. She's taking orders from Trump. And she called the MAGA movement itself a big lie. I think people are realizing it was all a lie. It was a big lie for the people. What MAGA is really serving in this administration, who they're serving, is their big donors, Greene told radio host Kim Iversen. This is a woman who resigned from Congress rather than face a Trump-backed primary challenger. A woman Trump publicly called a traitor and a disgrace. And she's now going on conservative podcasts to tell MAGA supporters that they've been conned. According to a New York Times profile, Greene claims Trump called her after she announced she would expose names of Epstein's abusers. She says people could hear Trump yelling at her through the speakerphone. When she asked why he was fighting her on this, Trump allegedly responded, "My friends will get hurt." My friends will get hurt. That's the sitting president of the United States, according to one of his former closest allies, admitting he's protecting people connected to a convicted child sex trafficker. Does this change how you see the MAGA movement? Tell me in the comments. And it gets worse, because while Poole and Greene are attacking Trump, two of his most powerful allies are attacking each other. Elon Musk and Steve Bannon are in open warfare, and the Epstein files are at the center of it. The documents released by the DOJ show that Bannon had an extensive relationship with Epstein, hundreds of emails and texts, photos of them together, including a mirror selfie. Footage of Bannon interviewing Epstein for a documentary in 2019, asking questions like, "Do you think you are the devil himself?" The files show Bannon and Epstein texting at all hours, name-dropping prominent figures, trading political intelligence, and discussing Trump. In April 2019, Bannon texted Epstein offering to rebuild your image as a philanthropist. In June 2019, just days before Epstein was arrested, Epstein texted Bannon, "Now you can understand why Trump wakes up in the middle of the night sweating when he hears you and I are friends." When these files came out, Musk, who has his own uncomfortable appearances in the Epstein documents, went on the attack. "Bannon is evil," Musk posted on X, sharing photos of Bannon with Epstein. The post got 29 million views. Roger Stone, the longtime Trump ally, piled on. "Musk is right about Steve Bannon." Laura Loomer, the far-right influencer who sometimes advises Trump, demanded Bannon explain himself. Conservative radio host Eric Erickson said he was suspicious of anyone going on Bannon's show. This is the heart of MAGA turning on itself. Bannon runs War Room, one of the most influential conservative podcasts in America. He's been at the center of the movement since 2016. And now, major figures in that same movement are publicly calling him evil and demanding he be shunned. The irony is almost too much. Bannon spent months on his podcast pushing conspiracy theories about elites and Epstein. He called Epstein the key that picks the lock and demanded a special prosecutor. Meanwhile, he was literally texting with Epstein, offering to rebuild his reputation. The hypocrisy is breathtaking, and MAGA world is finally noticing. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even the hardcore MAGA influencers, the ones who never break from Trump, are starting to crack. Nick Fuentes, the white nationalist podcaster, went on his show this week and mocked conservatives who were outraged by Trump's racist video depicting Barack and Michelle Obama as apes. The way that conservatives were talking about it, I thought it was going to be drag queen story hour, Fuentes said. At one point, we were the trolls. Now we're the butthurt ones. Think about what Fuentes is saying here. He's not defending Trump. He's mocking the MAGA movement for becoming exactly what it used to ridicule: easily offended, defensive, unable to handle criticism. This is a movement built on trolling and provocation, and now it's panicking when that provocation carries consequences. Salon captured it perfectly. This is a movement that thrives on provocation but panics when that very provocation carries consequences. The MAGA coalition wants the thrill of trolling without the cost of being held responsible. The desperation, the infighting, the blame-shifting, it's all becoming impossible to hide. What makes this moment different from past Trump controversies? 3 things. First, the Epstein files are bipartisan kryptonite. This isn't a Democratic attack that MAGA can dismiss as fake news. Republicans like Thomas Massie and Nancy Mace joined Democrats to force the release. The files show Trump's name over 1 million times, according to Representative Jamie Raskin. They contradict Trump's claims about when he knew about Epstein's crimes. And they show multiple Trump administration officials, including Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, had connections to Epstein. 56% of Americans say Trump is the same or worse than Biden, according to polling discussed on Benny Johnson's show. Trump's approval rating is stuck at 41%. And half of Americans believe he's trying to cover up Epstein's crimes. Second, Trump is losing control of his own coalition. 6 House Republicans voted this week to overturn Trump's tariffs on Canada. Senator Tom Tillis is holding up Trump's Fed chair nomination. The House failed to pass a rule that would have blocked challenges to Trump's tariffs, killed by Republicans who broke ranks. Trump's iron grip on the Republican Party might be starting to loosen, according to CNBC's analysis. The few elected Republicans who regularly cross him, including Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie and Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina, are more vocal than ever. Third, the blame game has begun. Trump deleted his racist Obama video and blamed an unnamed White House staffer. That's not the Roy Cohn playbook. That's retreat. That's weakness. And MAGA can smell it. The tough guy act was always brittle, Salon observed. Finally facing sustained pushback from his own coalition, we see how easily the president folds. So where does this leave the MAGA movement? It leaves it fracturing along fault lines that have been building for over a year. AI policy, immigration enforcement, the Epstein files, tariffs, foreign policy. Bannon and his War Room podcast are at war with Musk and the tech billionaires. Greene and the populist wing are at war with the donor class. Massie and the libertarians are at war with the party establishment. And everyone is at war over Epstein. The movement that built its identity on unity, on unwavering loyalty to Trump above all else, is splintering. Trump himself seems to sense the danger. According to CNN White House sources, he's in a frothing rage at allies who criticized his racist video. He reportedly told people they're dead to me. He's had fewer public appearances since the backlash started. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the White House this week, and there were no public remarks. Trump is hiding. Meanwhile, prediction markets favor Democrats to win control of the House in the midterms. Democrats are pushing a narrative that the tide is turning. And MAGA podcasters are openly accusing their own president of covering up evidence related to child sex trafficking. I never thought I'd see this. The question now is whether this is a temporary fracture or the beginning of something bigger. Trump has survived everything thrown at him before, but this time the attacks are coming from inside the House. What do you think happens next? Is MAGA actually breaking apart, or will they fall back in line? I genuinely want to hear your take on this.